So you want to create incredible content for social media? Well, the good news is that this week we're going to be talking about how to use your camera to its full potential, because welcome back to the Creator Series Camera Basics Edition, where today we're starting with photography exposure. There are 3 settings that you need to adjust if you want to expose your photo correctly: our aperture, our shutter speed, and our ISO. The goal is to balance these 3 settings out because what we shoot changes what settings we use. And we're gonna start with our shutter speed. When we're shooting handheld, we wanna make sure our shutter speed is double that of our focal length. But to avoid shake, generally anywhere around 125 does a great job. For aperture, I like to use f8 to f11 when I'm shooting a landscape photo.
Make sure the whole image is brought into focus.
The lower your aperture number, the more light your camera lets in, and the shallower your depth of field. The same is true for the reverse. Now, because a smaller aperture means you're bringing in less light, you're gonna need to use ISO, which is the setting that changes our camera's sensitivity to light. I try to start with my ISO around 100 and then gradually bump it up to where it needs to be
based on what I've decided is best for my other settings.
So with that, let's hop on into the next section and get this week's tutorial started. So you've learned how to use the settings with your camera, but how do you actually make good content? Well, it doesn't matter how great your camera is. If you don't know how to use compositions, you won't make good content. For one, I love subframing. This is when you frame your subject in front of another frame, like a door. 2 is leading lines, both human and man-made. You can use roadways like this, or even building edges pointing directly towards you like this. It's really up to you. But last is the most important, because it's the rule of thirds, where we want to place our subject on any of these points to make it the most visually interesting. Vertically, you're kind of stuck placing people in the middle, but horizontally, you could do something like this to keep things fresh and engaging. Unless, of course, you really want to get experimental and place your subject anywhere you want in frame. But these are, of course, only basic compositions. They're the fundamentals. There are tons of other options, which we'll be talking about in future videos. See you in the next section. So you now want to step up your videos and you're not sure what to do. Well, there are 3 composition hacks that you still need to try. It starts by not just keeping your videos stationary and static. You want to show yourself moving scene to scene in order to keep things dynamic and tell a bit more of a story of the location you're in. Because the end outcome might just be a better story. And if we want to make these stories interesting, we can add a little extra into the foreground. This way we can draw our viewers into our scene by adding a bit more depth. And we can also utilize space. See how much room there is for captions up here? Because by allowing there to be breathing room in your frame, you're going to naturally draw your viewers' attention to where you want it. But I think to really explain this correctly, we're gonna need a dedicated composition series. So if that interests you, comment down below. And with that, we're gonna carry on into the next section. The hardest part about content creation is taking your ideas and bringing them to life, which is why today I want to do an automotive shoot in front of a library to show you just how possible it is to get a great result when you understand compositions, because what we learn here is going to transfer to all other types of content. And with anything we film or photograph, we need to start with a hero shot. The goal with any hero shot is to introduce your environment and to showcase the subject, which in this case is the car. For cars, we usually start with something called a 3/4 shot. You can then move to capturing the side profile and another 3/4 shot of the back of the car. Now, compositionally, these shots all work because this building has a few great elements. 1, there are leading lines. 2, repeating patterns to create visual interest, and the potential to subframe your subject. Next, of course, though, are the details. Things like the badge, lights, and wheels help to showcase what makes your car unique. And for other content you're shooting, really showcase what makes your subject special. Because you'll then want to move your subject to different areas in your location, finding different ways to integrate your subject into the location, like with how I'm subframing the car with the building behind me. So if there's anything I hope you take away from this, it's that you need to find a way to integrate your subject into your location in order to create interesting compositions for your content.
Okay, and that'll take us to the end of today's video. If you've been wondering how to use your camera better or are just getting started with content creation, I hope this video sort of set the foundation of how you need to think about using a camera. The camera basics portion of it was meant to be the beginning. Learning your camera settings and how to balance the exposure triangle is going to be the most important thing when you're first starting out. But the other few sections, taking those initial settings and lining them up with your compositions, are where your fundamentals are really going to come through. The main point that I wanted to get across, especially if you're just starting out, is that it doesn't necessarily even matter what your camera settings are if you don't know your compositions. And that's the true camera basics. Learning photography and videography compositions are really going to set you up for creating engaging content, not only for social media, but for just other mediums where you might be displaying it. And so that was the idea with the Audi photo set. When we brought the Audi to the library, what I wanted to convey was that you need to understand where to place your subject and how to place your subject in order to get interesting shots. And that how you then photograph your subject using those fundamentals, like I discussed about vehicles, where you have this very specific types of compositions with 3/4 shots, etc., is where you're going to learn how to bring out the most in your creative as a result of understanding how to use your camera, if that makes sense. Essentially, if you know your compositions and how to compose a subject, then getting your camera settings is what's going to be the unlock to creating good images. And that's especially the case in video. Photography is a little bit more forgiving because you can underexpose or overexpose a little bit and it's easier to correct. With video, you really need to understand compositions because how you frame up your subject and then expose it is how your footage then really comes out most of the time, even if you're shooting in a log profile. I hope you've enjoyed today's video on the beginnings of learning to use your camera. This video is meant to tee up the rest of the series where we're really going to go into depth about how to create with a mirrorless camera, with an iPhone, what other things you need to worry about with framing, composition, different types of things you can shoot with your camera to be a content creator, a whole bunch of things I have lined up. I just need to set the stage first, and that's what this video was meant to do. So I hope you're enjoying this new format on the channel as well. I'm trying to strike a balance between travel content and content creator content and how my sort of story of being a Canadian-based content creator comes out, because I'm constantly on the go making things that I'm passionate about, and I want to show you my process for doing that. And I'm trying to find that perfect balance along the way, and that's really my goal, being able to do that with these videos. So if you've enjoyed it, let me know what you enjoyed most. Give this video a like. Thank you for watching as always, and with that, I'll see you all in the next one.